Hello, everyone. Can everyone see the screen, my presentation, and listen me well? Good. So yeah, thank you very much, Dan, for the introduction and all the organizers for having me again in this conference. It's an honor to be part of this inspiring conference for the fourth time. Yeah, so today I'm going to present about transformative identities and how body painting is seen and used in indigenous Amazonian cosmologies. So for indigenous peoples from the Amazon, and I think for many indigenous peoples and traditions around the world, body painting is not simply decoration or cultural display, but it's a form of cosmological transformation. In Western thought, culture is often seen as separate from or dominant over nature. In contrast, Amazonian body painting actually expresses a deep continuity between the human body and the environment and the rest of nature. So body painting is both beautiful and functional, and it protects, heals, and marks cosmological transitions. Its function is actually its meaning. And in many indigenous Amazonian cosmologies, painting the body is also a spiritual act, one that shifts identity and prepares the person for different relational states, with spirits, with their families, with their ancestors, with other animals, and other than human beings and other humans in general. So it's important to reframe what aesthetics is, to understand how they use these paintings. So here we need to think about transformation as not metaphorical, but actual. So the line between the body and the world is really thin. In painting, it's more than identity. It becomes a transformation. And to help us understand it, the concept of perspectivism developed by Eduardo Viveiros de Castro, who is a Brazilian anthropologist, is very useful. It is the idea that different beings see the world from their own bodily perspectives. And in this view, the body is porous and mutable and capable of being redefined depending on the context or the moment or the ritual or the knowledge which has been passed down and so on. So shapes shifting is not a myth. It actually reflects how identity is fluid and relational. And this worldview, again, challenges dominant Western ideas of the body as fixed and bounded individual. And perspectivism challenges not only Western notions of individualism, but also reshapes what we consider to be nature and culture. In this view, the bodies are shaped through their relationships with other beings, not separated from them. And moreover, in these cultures, art is not just a cosmological practice, but it's also an ontological one. Paint isn't just symbolic, it's active. It enables the body to, and the self and the spirit to become. Just as donning a feather crown doesn't represent a bird, it invokes it. It is the making of their world. And it's also a way of activating relationships. And when they paint their bodies, they enter into this different cosmopolitical relation with these other beings. It is like aligning their body through the drawings with these other beings. And the painting allows the body to become a jaguar, for example, a warrior, a healing, and so on. Not symbolically only, but spiritually and relationally. And some communities believe that body paint can prevent spiritual contamination. So it acts like filters and barriers, and serve as armor in ritual battles, and in a practical and a metaphysical sense. So there are practical and spiritual dimensions of body painting in different life stages, such as birth, puberty, healing, mourning, and each pattern and color carries meanings and offers protection. And painting can also serve as a way to communicate readiness or presence to the spirit, to the spiritual world. They are not arbitrary patterns. They are like maps and cosmological codes. So just to give some examples of how these traditions in the Amazon paint their bodies. Urucum is one of the main substances to paint the body. It is extracted from the seed of the fruit, and it is associated for many cultures with vitality. It's like the blood. It represents the red, represents the blood, and by painting with the urucu tint, you were actually gaining more vitality. You get more vital energy, and it also symbolizes spiritual protection and connection to ancestors and forest beings. So it is applied in different ways during rituals, celebrations, rites of passage, and it also transforms the body into a sacred space. So when you apply it in your body is already receiving something that is very sacred for these traditions. And it's affirming identity and marking this way of belonging to other worlds. And it's a practice also of care, of resistance, and cosmological expression. In some traditions, it is also applied before going to the forest for hunting and to protect and to sort of like camouflage your body from other animals. Another species that it's very used to paint the body is genipapo. And genipapo lasts more than urucum. Urucum you can use and remove. With genipapo, it stays for at least 1 week, sometimes more. And it's often applied before ceremonies or shamanic and healing work, as a form of energetic and spiritual protection, and as a form of aligning again with the different entities of the spiritual world. And it's believed to guard the body against the negative spirits and unseen forces, especially during a shamanic ritual or during a rite of passage. And different designs and patterns painted with genipapo can also signify your clan affiliation as an indigenous, your social role as well, your spiritual readiness or life transition. It is also used to distinguish genders, age groups, and ceremonial functions within the community. And the dark, long-lasting pigment is, again, considered a way to align the body with the forest. And that's the reason why they do a lot of lines, and there are different patterns that use lines and geographic patterns as these ones, which are graphisms from the Assurini people in the Xingu area in Brazil. And they represent different things like the honeycomb being, and they are used as well when they are gonna plant their crops, and also for communicating with these other beings, and having this alignment as feeling that they are part of the same clan but also the same clan of a bean, of a tree, of a honeycomb, and so on. Not like the same clan as just for human beings. And just to give more examples from one of the groups that I worked mostly in the past years, the Yawanawa group. They live in the Brazilian Amazon, in Acre, in the Gregório indigenous land. And in their tradition, there is an important role played by the woman in body painting. And it's like the woman, they care the knowledge of how to paint and how to do the different drawings, and they pass it down in a form of cultural continuity as well. So painting is also a form of registering the culture, and they call their designs kene, which are their sacred designs. And this name is actually the same for many Panu speaking traditions, such as the Shipibo, the Huniquin, which the Yawanawa are part of. And there are different kenes for different situations. So, for example, here is the kene of the Awavena, which is commonly known as the butterfly, but they see it as a beautiful female spirit. It's not just the butterfly, it's like this spirit that can be a woman and can be a butterfly and can transform itself for different moments, to carry the spirit of this female beautiful spirit. And this is another example, the kene of the Runumapu, which is the representation of the spirit of the jiboia, the boa constrictor, that for which for the Yawanawa was the first animal to inhabit the world in their story, and the one that has its whole body in touch with the land, with the earth, and because of that, it carries the energy of the earth, it carries the energy of the soil, of the land, and for them is a very sacred spirit. So this is a painting with Genipapo in this two Yawanawa indigenous, and it's a very sacred one. And here is an example of a beautiful partnership that actually happened in the past 2 years between the Yawanawa and the Turkish artist Refik Anadol, where they got together to create a collection of 1,000 unique digital artworks based on the Yawanawa kenes. And here it's what Refik did with the inspiration of their kenes, and there is also some artistic media movement art that he did, that it's completely digital, and it's based on 9 elements there that inspire a lot the Yawanawa for designing their kenes, which are the sun, the moon, the star, water, the forest, the wind, the earth, the fire, and the sky. And another way that body painting has been used is in protests for activism. And it's like in these moments, the body becomes like a banner, and not just of nationalism, but of sovereignty tied to the land, to their ancestors, and to the right to live differently. And there were different moments where body paint was used in indigenous-led protests as a form of visual activism, such as in national protests for land demarcation, or in international ones, such as the United Nations climate conferences, for example. And these are not performances. They are like powerful declarations of identity, of land rights and spiritual presence in these places that normally you don't have such presence. And it's what Beth Conklin argues, that aesthetics are political and mobilized strategically to confront this colonial visibility. So they want to be visible, and painting their bodies in these situations is a form of doing that. And finally, another thing that it's very important to think about is the body as an archive, as a map, and also as making their future, not just representing their past, but marking their future and protecting their traditions. And here I want you to consider how many archives in the Western sense exclude the living, the painted body. What happens when knowledge is kept alive through the skin, not through books? And this is what happens in many of these indigenous cultures. And the painted body acts as an archive, carrying stories, cosmologies, and relational knowledge across generations. And it's also a map of the land, a map of kinship, of cosmological forces, of different relations, different beings. And then it's important to ask ourselves, what do we lose when these practices are excluded from our research, or are commodified or appropriated without context? What remains when the ritual is striped away? So to conclude, I think it's very important, again, to understand body painting as an epistemological and cosmopolitical act. It is a right to transform, to express, to embody one's world. And I also want to invite everyone to reframe how we engage with indigenous aesthetics, not as something to observe or consume or look at from outside, but something to learn from, to respect, and to protect. And if the skin is a site of memory and relation, how might we shift our thinking from consuming indigenous art to supporting the rights of indigenous peoples to paint, to speak and exist in their own terms? And what would it mean to think with our painted bodies rather than just think about them? And I almost painted my face to to do this presentation because I thought it would be meaningful, and in the end I didn't, because I couldn't find my urucum here. I'm traveling, I'm not at home. I thought I had it with me, but I didn't. But yeah, I think again, it's important to think with our painted bodies, and whenever we need such a transformation, learn from these cultures to be able to transform ourselves, to transform our bodies, especially when we want to be in touch more than ever with other beings, with nature, with the rest of nature, and so on. So thank you very much. And I'm here for questions if you have.
Thank you so much to all three of you. And you were very timely. But unfortunately, we did not organize this session with enough time for questions, because we hoped your contributions would set the tone for the entire conference. So I invite those of you in the Zoom room, if you have reactions that you want to quickly type into the chat, you could do that. But we will, in the interest of being able to stay on schedule, bring this session to a conclusion with deep gratitude to all three of you for presentations that really embody everything that we want to cultivate together. So as you know, we now have 5 different session opportunities. So you've got to make some choices. And I will just say, to help facilitate the transition in this room,